like myself or yourself, now that you've gone through the trainings, working with someone else and guiding their minds through certain experiences to release potential, overcome blocks, and create or promote internal healing again. Self-hypnosis allows you to do the same thing on yourself, of course, which doesn't necessarily negate the ability to go to an expert, because there are sometimes when it's easier to let someone else guide you through a difficult situation. But to be honest with you, I'd say that maybe 80 or 90% of the reasons why someone might see professional help, whether it be a therapist or a coach or anything like that, you can actually take yourself through with self-hypnosis. And essentially, we'll go right back to the fundamental idea that we talked about right at the beginning of the show, which is that all learning, all behavior, and all change all occur at the unconscious level first. So if you're stuck in a habit, for example, well, it's not because you choose to be stuck there. It's not a conscious choice that you're making. There's an unconscious program running, if you like, and that program, as soon as your attention is brought offline, starts running automatically, which is why you can find yourself being on a diet, and then suddenly you find yourself, look in the fridge and you might shut it down and say, nope, that's it, I'm not going to look at the chocolate cake anymore. But before you know it, eventually, you forget yourself long enough for you to be looking at a half-empty plate of chocolate cake in your hand and thinking, how the hell did I get to this point? So what self-hypnosis allows you to do is to break down those walls inside the mind that preserve regular reality. This is how I live my life. This is what is real for me. This is what's automatic for me. Now, those automatic behaviors, by the way, are very, very useful. It means that in the mornings, you get to dress yourself without having to figure out how does a shirt button up, which hole does my hand go in, which hole does my head go in, and so on. It allows you to drive a car without having to think about it. So you don't have to, if you recall the first time you're sitting in a car and how confusing this whole thing is about, steering and looking at the mirrors and signaling and pushing buttons and doing stuff, now all that stuff is very, very simple and very straightforward. So habits are very wonderful things that the unconscious takes over for us to free thinking time for other things. The problem is when we become, these habits become tyrants. They won't change when we want them to change. So, for example, a classic habit is part of the smoking dilemma. It's not necessarily all an addiction. Part of it is just a pure habit. People want something in their fingers to fidget with or to do in a social situation. And that's one of the reasons why, for example, a smoker might go back to it. It's not even that they have any cravings anymore. Very often it's just they go to situations like they're having a drink with a friend, and it triggers an old habit, and before they know it, they're having a cigarette, not because they want one, not because they need one, just because their body is used to having one. So with hypnosis, in particular self-hypnosis, if you're applying this to yourself, what it allows you to do is go into the place where those habits are formed, where those unconscious behaviors are created, and to change them.